Right. So the 2 points here that I want to bring together, they're looking after their people and covering things up, because that's precisely what they're doing. Samson, can you play this in the background while we talk? So this kicked off quite a firestorm online because people noticed that, oh, look, men in uniform, it looks like they're wearing the same grey jumper and black trousers, being bussed into the hotel in Canary Wharf on Saturday, this was, under cover of night. And you can see that they're being provided with some sort of papers or something like that by security at the Britannia Hotel. And this is what really kicked off all of these protests. But who is protecting who here? What's the purpose of this? Why are you doing this under the cover of night? It seems that...
Well, look, it's a very good question, Carl, and I have the solution which Emily Maitlis didn't like, which is set up a tented camp off the west coast of England or Scotland, give them some food, and wait for them to decide they want to go home, which is largely what the Australians do. They should never come and settle on our mainland. Because the next thing is we've got this indefinite right to remain, which is another part of our deficient system which needs to be reformed. So these people come, then they bring their families, then they bring their dependents, and then they bring absolutely everybody over here. And our Home Office is just not fit for purpose. No. So I think...
Well, it's full of traitors.
I think for me, it's even with the Human Rights Act, which must be repealed, as you know, within it is embedded the ECA.
Oh, absolutely.
So once you embed that, you end up with a sovereign nation again who can control its own borders, which must be the definition of a sovereign nation that we all voted for in 2016.
So this is another very strange thing. We've got a phalanx. If you can play this in the background without the sound, Samson. A phalanx of police officers helping a Deliveroo driver or bike rider get through protesters. It's like, but that guy's probably an illegal, working illegally. Like, Deliveroo is a massive problem.
Well, undermining legal tax-paying businesses who collect tax, pay tax, and facilitate the government funding itself.
Yes. And so you have...
So in there, we've got the roots of our own destruction.
Yes. You have the taxpayers protesting who are being forced to pay for the police who are protecting the people who are undermining and sucking their taxes up. So you are paying for your own oppression here. And it's such a small thing, but it's actually a microcosm of everything that is wrong in this country. Like, this shouldn't be the case. And then you go on to just the actual migrants themselves, who seem to be, well, a contemptible lot, frankly.
Look up. Look up. Fuck you little twat.
It's alright.
There's a fucking baby here, you got me. Hey! Get out of here, you little prick.
So you can see that this is an illegal throwing out of his hotel window food or whatever over a baby pushchair. That's pretty awful. And then you've got another one where this guy swears.
Where are you from, mate?
Where?
Were you running from a war? Oh! Where are you from? Where are you from?
And you can see the kind of people. But then you've got another one where a young woman got spat on by one of them and the police are not interested.
So you have a problem with my words?
Yes.
Because a filthy migrant just spat on me?
Yeah, that is
and you've got the issue with
We
me?
have a duty to challenge that language, yeah, because we're police officers and it's...
Because he's filthy and he's migrant and he attacked me like the other one.
We're trying to help you report that, but we can't not challenge that language because...
Okay, what's your numbers? So you'll find my language offensive 1483
I do find it...
3028
I'm still happy to help you with your crime, but we're not
1192.
challenge you when you use language like that.
That's the product of the College of Policing. You may have been spat on by a filthy migrant, but you calling him a filthy migrant because he spat on you is the problem. And the thing is, I personally, this drives me mad, and I hate it more than anything, with an absolute passion, because if I were to be taken in as a refugee in someone else's country, I'd be very, very grateful to the people who are helping me. I'd be very, very polite to them. I wouldn't point my camera out of the window and laugh at the protests like I was the one with the whip hand in this situation. I absolutely would.
They take us for fools, Carl.
They know.
They take us for fools.
They know the police are protecting them against us
So there are a number of things that are going on here, right? But I'm also slightly concerned that we get obsessed with these individuals rather than the people that are allowing this to happen and making it work.
The thing is, hang on, the thing is, we spent the first half of the podcast talking about those people.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm more concerned that we don't talk about the nature of the people who we're allowing in. Because I agree with you that you are completely correct. All of the institutions that have allowed and brought this to bear on us, that is entirely the reason this is here. But we don't talk about the nature of the people themselves.
So I think it's always difficult to talk about the nature of them. There are many of these men of a certain age that have come from very particular regions that do not respect the things that we have agreed on in a Western, let's call it Western, but society. So views of women.
Where is the Me Too movement on this?
Exactly. So they're not being there. But I'm also in a number of areas, which is why people are protesting and why they're so furious about it. The reason they're behaving, in my view, like this is because they know that they've got this institutional backdrop and the cultural wind is of this kind. Yes. And look, it's like I also am genuinely. I agree with your point that if you go somewhere and you've become
you have a duty to respect the people you've
and that was the case for a long time for migrants, by the way, who came from the Commonwealth and everything historically. And you look at generations of people who were like very committed, very loyal, very patriotic, and some of them have come to the protests, as I said earlier. So I think people are genuinely concerned, and particularly certain regions, like with the rape gang inquiry, there happens to be some groups from some areas that personify that. And you should absolutely be allowed to discuss it. It's embarrassing and it's dangerous when the police respond like that, because you just think, well, here's a physical attack. This is where words of violence become so mad. It came from the academy, but you're like, no, actually, someone's actually done violence. They spat on me. It's a physical assault.
But what it's doing, though, is it's reinforcing a daily humiliation of the English people.
Yeah.
Right? That's the real problem. These men have absolutely no respect for us at all. And we're giving them money. They are daily visiting indignities upon us. And then when...
Not only that, Carl, we're putting it at the top of waiting lists for medical treatment, for dental treatment.
Absolutely. And when we're out protesting...
Housing, we are prioritising
exactly
these people who've contributed zero to our history, our culture, or indeed our economy.
They're parasites.
And we are rewarding them with 4-star hotels, food...
money.
Mobile phones and better treatment than people who've paid tax all their lives.
And when we go out and protest,
you couldn't actually make it up.
No. And when we go out and protest,
I think it was a sick joke, wouldn't you? Really?
You would, but look at the joy on their faces. This is a funny thing to them. Laughing at us is
they wouldn't do this for us. That's why I think they think it's funny.
Well, they're not in a position either to do it. But what's interesting, when you become an American citizen, and even though that's much troubled now in the whole discussion of it, but there are things that are commitments that you need to talk about and discuss about their values and about a sense of what it is. And it's not just economic, of course, it's the constitution, it's the way of life. Yeah. And that whole respect of a way of life and what you're coming into and what you should be doing. And there is no attempt, and this is the point about integration and the abandonment of that, because the people who run this country and the institutions are embarrassed and ashamed of what we'd be integrating into. So they've jettisoned that, which then creates this backdrop, which is so problematic.
The thing is, it goes a step further than this as well, because if I was in a foreign country as a refugee and I was being given all of this money and all of this largesse from the state, and there were protesters around me, I'd be worried. I'd say, okay, well, what have I done to so inflame them? But these men are contemptuous of us because they know the state is fully behind them. They know the power is on their side. And so they can laugh at us from our position of humiliation with security.
Well, they've travelled across multiple safe countries.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, as Macron said, I don't agree with Mr. Macron very much, but I think he did correctly say, well, part of the problem is you're too generous with these people when they arrive in your country. And I think he's right.
He is, but what kind of people does that attract? That doesn't attract hard-working businessmen who are interested in paying taxes and setting down roots. What that attracts is adventurous young men who are out for treasure and women.
Well, Carl, most of these people have got quite a low IQ, and they will, in all likelihood, they will not contribute to our economy.
Absolutely,
it's not like the Huguenots and the Jews who fled persecution in Europe. They actually came here. A lot of them made huge contributions to this country.
But
I mean, these people are not going to make huge contributions to our country.
But the problem with this line of thought is that assumes that if they could make a good contribution, then we'd have to suffer this kind of indignity.
Well, they can't make a contribution if they come here with that attitude. That attitude in itself shows you they don't have any intent to contribute. They are taking us for fools. And
they absolutely are.
You know, if you come as a migrant or an asylum seeker, I call them economic migrants. I don't think they're asylum seekers. Having travelled across all these safe countries, how can they be asylum seekers?
They're adventurers.
And as Alan said, we all know they're all men, even though the Labour government denies it, and they've denied it on a number of occasions.
They're adventurers. In previous eras, these men would have joined up with the Sultan and gone off and joined his army and be plundering some bloody city in the Middle East.
So no, they don't respect us, and unfortunately, they're going to be a burden to our productive society for a very long time to come.
But I'm far less worried about the burden to productivity than I am the children being raped by them. Every day for the last week, we have had an example of boat migrants raping children. And now you've got to understand it in the context of they don't respect us. And they don't understand why we are putting them in hotels that are just like in Epping is the worst example. The hotel is within visual range of the school. Like they come from cultures that are deeply closed. They are not free and open cultures. You cannot just go to one of their children's schools. Like it would be a gang of men who would chase you down the street if an Englishman was found loitering around one of their kids' schools. They would, it's just not allowed. And so when we say, right, just come in and just do what you like, what they interpret that as being is we want you to do these things. We are okay with you doing these things. That's how they take.
Well, they're taught that it's okay to do.
Of course they are.
They come from it's like oil and water. Their entire culture is
they don't see it
different to ours.
They see us as kind of fallen people, and so they think that we're saying it's okay to do this.
I mean, we're weak, Carl.
They absolutely do. They absolutely do. This is a pair of Afghan asylum seekers, presumably ones that were smuggled in by the Conservative government, who've been charged with the rape and kidnap of a 12-year-old girl in Nuneaton. Why are there bloody Afghans in Nuneaton?
Again, talking about a dishonest state, is there anything more dishonest than deceiving the British people about this Afghan influx as a result of a supposed mistake by the civil service?
It's mad. But the thing is, this happened in the middle of the day. This happened in broad daylight, in the middle of the street. And it's just like, what? Like, imagine the sort of the thought process that had to get to the point where these two guys thought, we're going to kidnap and rape a 12-year-old at midday in the middle of a street in Nuneaton, and ask yourself why these barbarians are here. And then the police were like, well, okay, look, you can't tell everyone about this because this will, quote, inflame community tensions. So I think it might, actually. I think it might. I mean, this is Warwickshire Police.
Where is the policing without fear or favour, Carl?
Well, I mean, we don't want community tensions, Rupert. What? You know, we don't want community tensions, do we? I mean, that's the last thing we want. One man from Warwickshire said they're hushing it up because they don't want an Epping situation on their hands. Well, I'm sorry. Every time a migrant rapes a child, there should be an Epping situation. There should be mass protests, and they should be removed from the community. I mean, they shouldn't have been there in the first place, of course, but that's the way that things are. And at the moment, there's a young man leading Warwick Council, one of the 18-year-old reform councillors, and he's actually come out quite hard on this. He put out this superb statement, and he's done a press release.
He wrote a letter.
Yeah, but a letter to Yvette Cooper, and he's done a press conference, but it happened too soon before the podcast for me to include it on the podcast, where he's just saying, well, look, this is dreadful, this is unacceptable. Why are these people here? My duty as the leader of the Warwickshire County Council is to protect the residents, not protect community cohesion, which allows foreign migrants to rape children. It's just off. That's unacceptable. That's absolutely unacceptable. And so good for them for actually getting things done on this.
Well, I've written lots of letters to Yvette Cooper whether or not this will get things done. Well, I have a great saying, watch what the hands are doing, not what the mouth is saying, because
I'm confident this will turn into an Epping situation.
Actually, a lot of people I mean, I don't think I've ever had a reply, and I've written to Yvette Cooper on multiple occasions. I mean, it's a very similar letter to the one we've been writing for quite some time now.
Just to be clear, I don't think it's the letter to Yvette Cooper that's going to get things done. I think what's going to happen is an Epping situation where the local residents come out and just say, no, these men have to go. And like in Epping, they will eventually get them.
Although when we do write tens of thousands of letters, which we at the Together Declaration do get people to do, it does have an impact. So we did help stop mandatory jabs, particularly for people who'd been doing things for a year, and we got it turned around. We managed to help stop vaccine passports, the earlier form of digital ID, completely mad idea that had no bearing, in the same way that these new digital IDs have no bearing on what we're talking about, right? They're just an attempt to limit things. And across the board, we've seen Department of Transport, we've changed legislation there with funding livable streets and low traffic neighbourhoods, debanking. Lots of letters can work from the public as part of an overall strategy, right? Where we get and this is the thing, I'm not so much, it's like great that people are now standing and giving a lead and saying things, and it's fantastic, right? Whether it's in Parliament or campaign groups, but the British public in the end is where the power lies. We the many, right? I mean, because actually things change immediately. If you've got a mandate, a true mandate from the public, and you can say, look, this is where, look, I'm representing this view, I've been very clear about it, and I'm here. And if we've got the public behind things and they're saying to their constituents, or they're standing and they're elected, and across the board things change quickly, right?
But then and again, you see, you're right. But and we with Lucy Conley, I mean, we were able to. Once you've got a large membership, you can force, as you know, a debate in Westminster Hall. Yeah. So we managed this. We started at 2:00. I think we'd had 100,000 signatures by 11 o'clock at night.
It was great. Yeah.
So you start, if you get a movement, and again, a lot of people find it very difficult to understand. Why isn't it a party? Well, the point is, a movement is to unify. A party divides because you actually end up with tribal barriers. We don't want that. What we want is unity amongst everybody in the country who actually shares the same view that things are going badly wrong. They can feel their country slipping through their fingers, and they want it back. And if they just sit there and don't do anything, I'm afraid they are going to lose their country.
Well, that's why I really agree with the point about, and we try and remind everyone about duty.
But don't you think Yvette Cooper should answer these letters?
Absolutely,
particularly from an MP.
Absolutely.
I think Yvette Cooper probably understands she's probably not winning the next election. She's probably losing a seat. I mean, half of the Labour front bench are already on ticking clock.
But that's where responsibility and the sense of duty and your civic responsibility is also not just what they're legislated for in terms of responsibilities, but just where is the sense of your honesty and dedication to the service rather than just the particular party or your pragmatic view. And that's what people want to see much more of. They want to see commitment to principles. They want to see honesty. They want to see transparency. The trust deficit is so huge, but also we have
some justification.
Indeed. But the way we turn it around, because you've got loads of viewers, and we have to remind ourselves, is not just to moan and complain. It's to us all take our sense of duty and responsibility in making our country better again and what we want to see it, because that we can give a lead in big ways, locally, regionally, nationally, that can then transform things.
No, completely agree. Who are the men that pick for scraps amongst the ruins at the end of history? You should know, because you encounter them every day. Between the towering buildings of a fallen empire, we find the Fellaheen, the historyless men, who know nothing of the turning of the cosmic wheel and find themselves outside of civilization itself. Cut loose from the great chain of being, they represent the loam into which our dying culture will return. That is, unless we choose to take up the burden once again. This Fellaheen condition is the subject we explore in issue 4 of Islander magazine, on sale while stocks last and available worldwide at shop.loadseaters.com.